Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we are going back to Disney Infinity. Y'all, I can't believe I have never played this game until this year. You see, my journey for Disney Infinity began years ago. Not when it was popular and relevant and we had Toys to Life happening before our very eyes. No, all the years after Disney Infinity got shut down, I saw the Gold Edition on sale for 18 bucks and it came with 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. I said, why not? Bought it, and as many do during a Steam sale, never touched it. But then, all these years later, a special film comes out. One of my favorites I've seen in recent years, and that's Inside Out 2. I think that is one of the most powerful movies I've seen in recent memory. And as someone who grew up with Toy Story, I found that franchise so important still to this day because Toy Story is watching Andy grow up and then seeing the toys be passed on to a new generation. There's a story within the story there. And growing up with Andy was just so important to me, still is so important to me. And I always worried that like the newer generations don't have their own Toy Story. They just kind of get to jump on the train with the rest of us, which really isn't that bad. Shout out to Toy Story 5. But now we have Inside Out and Inside Out 2. And I can see the vision of watching Riley grow up and going through these different phases of life and helping a younger generation understand their emotions. As someone who deals with anxiety, Inside Out 2 was so powerful and so important. So leaving the theater, naturally my next reaction is, I want to play an Inside Out video game. And so naturally I take to Google and I find out there's an Inside Out game called Thought Bubble. It's like a phone game. And then I see Disney Infinity 3.0 and I go, there we go. There's a reason to install. So over to my Steam Deck I go. I install the Gold Edition and my journey began in June. Now, on top of all of this, it's a great time to be talking about Disney Infinity, although it wasn't timed out intentionally this way. We just had D23, Incredibles 3, are you kidding me? I'm so excited. So there's a lot of Disney and Pixar optimism. It's a great time to be talking about Disney Infinity and why, if you have the Gold Edition or you're interested in getting some toys, this is a great pickup still to this day. You see, to break it all down, I have to get into Toy Story 3. But first, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into nostalgic and retrospective content, consider subscribing, hit the thumbs up button, helps out the channel a lot. Let's begin with Toy Story 3. So this comes from Avalanche Software, and for those of you who pay close attention to all the content I do, you'll know that at a presentation in front of a live audience, I said that yes, Toy Story 3 is one of the best video games ever made. And without a doubt, the best tie-in game ever. Not because it's faithful to the storyline or the nostalgia that comes with Toy Story 3. It's an important game because of the Toy Box mode. This game hails from Avalanche Software, and it's there that they made a mode that has blown my mind to this day. So you're dropped into a very large hub area, and as you complete missions for a variety of toys, you're gonna unlock new buildings with new functionality, new mini games, new characters to play as. And I'll always remember sitting down on my Mr. Matty channel because I lost a bet or something and getting ready to do a Let's Play for Toy Story 3, ironically getting ready to make fun of it. I played the first couple of missions and then I got into the Toy Box mode and I played it for 5 hours straight, completely blown away by it, forgetting that I even had a job to do in that moment then and there. And that's where I realized this ain't a joke, y'all. Toy Story 3 is the real deal. Now, I thought this was just a lightning in a bottle moment, but then I found Disney Infinity 1.0, and oh my gosh, the journey continues. I have so much more. I thought I experienced peak fiction in the past, but no, Disney Infinity for us Toy Story 3 video game fans is a whole other story. This is some special stuff on display, y'all. So for those who don't know the history of Disney Infinity, I did the research for you. There was 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. And we actually had a question about this written in over on our Patreon. If you want to join up and write in for all of these videos, you can do so, link down below. We're very close to 200 patrons, so consider joining us there. It comes from RK128 who asks, what's your favorite playset? And as a fan of Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars, are you happy with the representation that they get? So every version of Disney Infinity had playsets. These were literal toys you would go out to buy at the store, and you would put them on a Disney Infinity base and they would appear in your game. And this is also how you unlocked brand new campaigns, story modes, places to explore. It was really cool. For me, Lego Dimensions is what got me into Toys to Life because it just made so much sense. Like, Lego games are already awesome. Legos are toys I already built a ton with. Now I get to build them in real time and put them in a video game. It sounded really good in practice. I didn't fall too in love with Lego Dimensions, and from there, I just didn't touch any other Toys to Life games. But I regret not getting into Disney Infinity. So 1.0, I think, is the cream of the crop. This is where you find the majority of the Pixar and Disney things that you're familiar with. There's The Incredibles, Pirates of the Caribbean, you have Cars, you have Toy Story in space, you have so many beautiful ones to pick from here, and all of them, frankly, are fantastic. Disney Infinity 2.0. This marks an absolute low in the franchise because 2.0 is all Marvel, and you can feel the reluctance in the product, whereas 1.0 is wildly inspired with a ton of gimmicks I'm going to dive into. 2.0 feels like we're checking a box here to get popularity for this thing, and hopefully we can make more toys like we did in 1.0. But in fact, they continued to, if you will, Disneyify it a little bit more, and they did a Star Wars playset for 3.0. Multiple times. You had prequels, you had the original trilogy, you had the sequels. Yeah, there was a lot of Star Wars here. But also, 3.0 is where Inside Out lived. So that's where I began. I fired things up, and I didn't really look at the playsets for the first time. Now, for those of you who are interested in this and don't want to buy the toys, I would recommend getting the Gold Edition on PC. They have what's called a virtual base. It does involve a little bit of swapping through menus, but it doesn't involve you having any toys. You have everything's available to you, from the playsets to the characters. It is probably the best, most conservative way to play this game, where you can access all the content without needing the toys. Unfortunately, on console, like what's behind me here, you have to buy the toys. So yeah, if you want that platinum trophy, which I'm kind of thinking about, yeah, you need to get all the toys. Now, firing it up, I did not look into any of the other playsets. So when I saw Star Wars, I went, oh, prequel trilogy? All right, let's go ahead and check this out. And it's actually focused on the Clone Wars TV show. I was stunned to find the original voice actors reprising their roles in this game here. And not only that, but the high production value, the quality storyline. It took me about 4 hours to get through, and there was plenty of content beyond that. Side quests to complete, planets to explore. I love that I could go to a star map and visit all of my favorite Star Wars planets. I could go to Coruscant, for example, which is one of my favorite all-time Star Wars planets, and just explore, be there. There was a little bit of a tracker within the game where you would get stars per mission, and there was a number of quests you could complete, so it could really activate the completionist itch in you. Since I started here, I thought that this would be consistent throughout the product, but I was actually disappointed to learn that a lot of those tracking of completion of tasks was only present in 3.0. Because that's one thing that I noticed is as you go from 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0, you'll notice some changes in design philosophy. But I absolutely loved, I can't lie, the Star Wars editions here. I know a lot of people crap on Star Wars nowadays, but I have to say that their inclusion in Disney Infinity was pretty good. Like, some of their best storytelling here. Whereas older versions like 1.0 were more sandboxy, I'd say 3.0 was more driven by the story and the interaction, and that was also good. They each have their own strengths. But after I got enough Star Wars in my system, which oftentimes is not enough, I moved on over to Inside Out. This is really what I was here for. And man, I was so disappointed. The voice actors and actresses are so good. I love the characters so much in Inside Out. It hurts, but then you just run around and pop balloons. That's all you do. You just pop balloons and Inside Out. What is this, man? I was expecting like an emotional roller coaster again, really plucking the heartstrings, making a story about core memories and emotions and all that stuff, and you just pop balloons and run around. Like, it's so funny. The reason I looked up Inside Out video games is I thought certainly there's like a Nintendo DS era 3D platformer that's really not that expensive that has Inside Out there, and it's just gonna be whatever gimmicky fun. When I found Disney Infinity, I felt like my expectations raised when they maybe shouldn't have, because it's not awful, it's just super disengaging. Like, you're just running in one direction and hitting balloons and hearing quirky one-liners, and there's no real objective or interaction. It's just, you're going from pretty much cutscene to cutscene. Like, they just put Inside Out here for the sake of it existing here. It's not really there in a meaningful way. And even as someone here who adores Inside Out, this was a tough one to finish. I really couldn't get into it. And that was so sad for me because I love this series. But yeah, this was my first dud for sure. But then I got curious because I was talking to a buddy of mine and he said 1.0 is really where it's at. Like, you owe it to yourself to check that out. So I dove in and wow, was I blown away. This is where the Toy Story 3 effect really started to take shape. Naturally, when I fire up all the playsets and I see an option there for Toy Story in space, I go, hold up, really? More Toy Story from Avalanche? It can't be. And it is. It's literally Toy Story 3 2.0. I was marveled by this. I was so over the moon. You'd think I got Knights of the Old Republic 3. Like, that's how excited I was by Disney Infinity 1.0. I was so excited to once again be running around a toy box mode, doing random fetch quests as Buzz Lightyear, as Woody, as Jessie, and just gradually building out a city. It's like they just took Toy Story 3, all of the sound effects, all of the assets, the shoulder charge even, everything, and just plopped it in here. Like, they just reused so many assets in what I felt was a very smart way and exposed it to a whole new audience. It's brilliant stuff on display. But seriously, just this hybrid of city building and completing quests and being able to, like, for example, throw in some of your toys into this clothing machine and changing their outfits and doing combat simulators. Like, there's so many little gimmicks here. It's so much fun. The hours just delete themselves. Just all of a sudden, you've lost 2 hours of your life when you start playing this. It's so addicting and compelling in the most basic sense, but it works. It works. Like, I was so happy with this. So absolutely, I was thrilled with the representation I was getting at this point. But again, before I jump into more I loved, I just have to highlight that 2.0 isn't bad. It's just boring and plain because a lot of these are defined by their gimmicks. So in 2.0, you can do the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man. Even in a pre-Spider-Man PS4 world, Spider-Man feels awful. Story is really uninteresting. Avengers feels like it's capitalizing on like late Avengers era hype. Like, the movie came out in 2012 and I think 1.0 was 2014 or something like that. So it really was just trying to cash in on that, it felt like. And then Guardians of the Galaxy, as many of you may or may not know, is one of my least favorite Marvel groups. Like, I'm not crazy in love with them, so I was pretty indifferent to this one. None of it is bad, really. If anything, the only bad one I experienced was, I hate to say it, Inside Out. But 2.0 isn't really gonna light your fire. And I say this as someone who still loves Marvel, still reads comics, obviously goes to the theaters for the big movies when they drop. I really wasn't loving what was here on 2.0 because it was lacking the gimmick. I say that because 1.0, pretty much all of these had gimmicks, for better or for worse. Ones like Cars and Pirates were really awesome to see. Cars especially was a close second for me when it came to my favorite playsets because you're driving around Radiator Springs and you know what they say? Screw it, let's turn this into Mario Kart. Bro, what? Are you serious? This is awesome. It controls well. It was starting to turn into Tony Hawk at one point. I was doing tricks off ramps, gradually building speed, racing other cars, but it also had the Toy Story 3 effect. Like, I was driving around, placing objects all over Radiator Springs, getting new features and mechanics, like, brilliant. And it felt kind of open world. I played this and went, you know what? I kind of want to play a Cars video game. And then I found out there were 3 of them. So maybe one day we'll do Remembering the Cars games. I don't know. But yeah, Cars is just sick. And then Pirates is awesome because you start off as Jack Sparrow, you get your ship, and you get to sail this thing around the seas. And the scale is impressive. Like, it's really good stuff here. You know, of course, after games like even Kingdom Hearts 3 with their Pirates of the Caribbean world, like, that is one of my favorite ever Kingdom Hearts worlds. Or, of course, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. You know, the Disney Infinity effect can only go so far for this part of the playset, but it's part of the novelty, the gimmick effect. There are ones that fell a little short for me where I loved being in the world, but the gimmick didn't really do much, like Monsters University. I love Monsters Inc. and Monsters University, both obviously great movies. Love them so much. But when your only gimmick is scaring and all you do is sneak around and go, boo, ah, I mean, of course it's monsters, I get it, but it's not really reinventing what these games can be quite like Cars did versus Toy Story. Incredibles was also really effective because it was really cool just running around this world, being a superhero in a, again, small, almost hub-like open world. And this was the most combat-centric one. So they had combos and they had combat tutorials, and there were a lot of different moves and the ability to like shift targets while you were fighting. And so while it was just a simple beat 'em up brawler, since the others really weren't that, like Toy Story just gives you a shoulder charge, but a lot of its mini games are like racing, collect X amount of items in X amount of time. It works where they're all targeting different types of gameplay. And so if you can really get into that, like just the slight flips on their heads, nothing drastic, you'll love what Disney Infinity does. It just means that some will fall shorter than others. Where something like Monsters University is great still, it just doesn't have the cool gameplay gimmick that really brings the world to life. But if you love just the idea of living in these worlds, like Disney Infinity is still worth it. I got a lot more to say, but let's get into a really chunky complete box experience. It's not just the game, y'all. Check it out. All right, Disney Infinity for the PS3. Let's start off simple and then get into our largest in the terms of scale complete box experience yet with the starter pack. But here we have the PS3 copy, great cover art. Back of the box is promoting all the different playsets from Pirates, Incredibles, and Cars to the Cars playset, Lone Ranger playset, Monsters University. Here on the inside, the disc would be here, but it's in the PS3 as we proceed to go for the platinum maybe. We have a little thank you slip here from Disney Infinity's team here, and then you can go to the website for questions on all this different stuff here. And then we also have what I like to call the multilingual fake out style manual, right? So you look at the girth of this manual, you're like, all right, Matt, we're in for a treat, right? You open this up, ooh, colors. Okay, so this is gonna be illustrated. We're gonna see, you know, Mr. Incredible, we're gonna see Sully, everyone's gonna be illustrated, you're gonna get character bios, but instead what it really is a couple of page manual printed multiple times in different languages. So it's a quick start guide on the Disney Infinity base, some generic controls and troubleshooting guides, FCC information, and then you're on to the next language, and it repeats like that multiple times. The back of the manual is just promoting some Disney Infinity power discs. So that is the complete box experience when it comes to the PlayStation 3 version of Disney Infinity disc-wise. But now we have this giant starter pack, and we're gonna go ahead and rotate this, and we are going to look at the back here piece by piece. Same thing here as the back of the game. You see how you can expand your Disney Infinity adventure. These two were available first. They're talking about the power discs here, and then what's also available in the starter pack, right? They're talking about The Incredibles. Experience the power of The Incredibles on a quest to save the world from Syndrome and his supervillains. Toy Box is a wide open world of possibilities, unfortunately blocked by this dang sticker. And then also Pirates of the Caribbean plunge into an adventure to help Captain Jack Sparrow find pieces of the Kraken's Bane before Davy Jones. So now let's take a look at everything we get on the inside. All right, so here you have all the different figures. You have Mr. Incredible. If I can, oh no, it's all falling apart already. This is tough to do with one hand, and maybe that could get clipped out of context. I don't know, but hold on, we're gonna get him. Hold on, I need 2 hands for this. Come on now, there we go. All right, so there you have Mr. Incredible. You would put him on the Disney Infinity base, which I'll show you in a moment here. But check these figures out, like really good quality, really good feel. Jack Sparrow comes out a lot easier. I love how these look. I'm surprised at how cheap they are. You can find these in retro game shops for like $1 or $2. Some of the older ones from 1.0 are a little tougher to find, like say the Toy Story and Space one. They're a little tougher to find, but these here, you'll get them for like $1 at a retro game shop. In fact, they can't get rid of them soon enough. Meanwhile, here you have things like the power disc, which we can barely pop out here. And so this will give you all sorts of different enhancements. We have these little cards here, which are really cool. Agent P, love that. So yeah, they have some really cool things to collect here with this. And I just think this is an era that you could really bring back with a live service game. And now it just really can't exist anymore with just how, you know, much money there is to make with like digital goods and not really selling the physical stuff. It's just a sunk cost. And so this is the base here. You would put your playable character like, oh God. So yeah, this is the digital base. You would put your playable character here like this, and they kind of lock in. It's a little bit of a divot here, so it can fit in no problem and won't slide off too easily. And then you would put your power disc up here, and you can log two of these in at once. And so, yeah, it's really cool to just be sitting in front of your TV with all these figures looking at you, putting them here and just watching them come to life in the world. Like it really is still to this day extremely cool. But as you can see, that is a starter pack for Disney Infinity. A lot of cool stuff in here. Really great complete in-box experience. And now on with the rest of the video with a lot less shaky camera work, that's for sure. Noah the Otter is our final Patreon write-in. What properties would you like to see in Disney Infinity if they were to bring it back? You know, the biggest shame about this game and other Toys to Life games, like Lego Dimensions could have lived on, Skylanders could have lived on, Disney Infinity could have lived on, because as we progressed into a live service era, these were like some of the best positioned games to just keep it going with free updates and new playsets, or maybe premium playsets that you pay for. Like, I feel this didn't have to ever go away. I know we have games nowadays like, say, Disney Dreamlight Valley, which is effectively Animal Crossing meets Disney. I have a buddy who put over 200 hours into it and has waxed poetic to me about how great he thinks it is. I need to try it out and take that deep dive, especially because now they have a physical copy that I can buy and install, and so that speaks more my language. But man, like, I think that these games could have lived on. As for properties I would have loved to have seen, they did have Moana planned. They canceled that. I love Coco. I would have loved to have seen Coco here, because I'm thinking of worlds I would have wanted to have lived in. And if there's one I could have definitely picked, it would have been Ratatouille. I think Ratatouille is like a no-brainer. Just running around Paris with the rats, like having a good time. Like, I could totally see it being captured well with a bunch of cooking mini games. That would have been really cool. And then I had to throw out A Bug's Life. This is an older one, but I love A Bug's Life. And again, I'm thinking of worlds that would have been really interesting to run around in. I love Grounded, and that's a really great survival video game. And to maybe get like A Bug's Life meets survival would have been kind of cool if it was, again, a little gimmicky. So I think the potential was still there, especially now we're seeing Pixar really pouring on with a lot of new ideas. Like, there was Elemental and Turning Red. Like, there's a lot of different movies coming out, some resonating more than others, but definitely there's a lot of great ideas here. And I just really enjoyed my time thoroughly with Disney Infinity. I was blown away by how great the majority of this product is. And it doesn't end at just the play sets. There's toy box mode. So if you want to go ahead and build your own world, you can go ahead and do so. Why would you go in here? Well, as you're completing these play sets and these side missions, you're unlocking everything. You're unlocking brand new toys that are going to run around your world. You're unlocking new play sets that you can then drop into the toy box mode. And I will say, on keyboard and mouse, the building for this feels very natural. As someone who builds levels in Unreal Engine, I thought that a lot of the translation of those skills into what's here in Disney Infinity was kind of natural, although I didn't like how the keyboard was used to like cycle through these objects on the bottom bar, and it sometimes didn't feel as intuitive, but I was impressed by how great it felt to just place things down. But your creativity can go wild here, and I mean wild. Like, you can put down area triggers, interaction triggers, so when you press an item, something else will happen in the level. You can just drop full-on decorations everywhere, so you can put down like trees or full-on sets like Pride's Rock and just look at this in your overall toy box. I love the idea of this because more than anything, it reminds me of my childhood, where you just had toys and all these things that you're connected to just scattered about in a very messy way, but you could get clean with it. You could create levels with it. They had ESPN promotions where you could like lay out rails and grind on those. You could set up racetracks and build your own racetracks and then race the cars. Like, there is a just stunning amount of content here. You could spend hours upon hours upon hours here. I had so much fun with Disney Infinity, and I will continue to have so much fun with Disney Infinity. It's a great Steam Deck game. If you want to collect all the figures, it's great to kind of get into on a collecting level. The Platinum Trophy doesn't look that bad. So yeah, I loved my time with Disney Infinity. I can't believe I waited this long to play it. So what would I recommend? Gold Edition all the way. But if you got the time and the space and you want to get into collecting all the figures, I don't think getting all the playsets is all that bad of an idea. You saw the starter pack already. I know the rest of the playsets are more condensed, but you throw them in a box, put them in a corner, boom, good to go. Up to you, but I'm just saying it gets my vote of approval. Disney Infinity is awesome. You should check it out if you've been like me and sleeping on it for a while. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I've got for you today, and I will catch you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.